Hi, and welcome to Finding Your Way Through Therapy. I am your host, Steve Bisson. I'm an author and mental health counselor. Are you curious about therapy? Do you feel there is a lot of mystery about therapy? Do you wonder what your therapist is doing and why? The goal of this podcast is to make therapy and psychology accessible to all by using real language and straight-to-the-point discussions. This podcast wants to remind you to take care of your mental health, just like you would your physical health. Therapy should not be intimidating. It should be a great way to better health. I will demystify what happens in counseling, discuss topics related to mental health, and discussions you can have with your therapist. I also want to introduce psychology in everyday life, as I feel most of our lives are enmeshed in psychology. I want to introduce the subtle and not so subtle ways psychology plays a factor in our lives. It will be my own mix of thoughts as well as special guests. So join me on this discovery of therapy and psychology. Hi, and welcome to episode 11. Episode 11 will be used as a bridge between the original episodes, the first 10 that I had, as well as the episode 12 and 13, who are going to be the most popular and my favorite one. I think that I'm going to do this for several reasons. The reason why we're going to have a couple of bests of is that I'm going to take about a 3-week rest period before getting back into season 2, which this works out the best way. I also want to tell you that it was my first season. I've never done podcasting, obviously. And I think that I'm learning as I go. And I've had a lot of people support me with that, which I really, truly appreciate. And I've had a lot of good feedback from different people. So wanted to tell you about how the episodes went and why they exist. So the first one was, why am I doing this podcast? And really wanted to make sure that everyone understood that therapy can be a very simple process, something that people can reach out to and that we can do on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, depending on how much you need basis. I think that therapy should not be complicated. And in fact, it's as important as physical health. So I'm hoping that that's what the first episode really taught you. I also thought about things that we need to discuss in counseling with our therapist, whether what our needs are from our therapist, things that we need out of counseling, and why the therapeutic relationship is so important in therapy. And I think that that's what people don't get sometimes, is that they look for CBT, DBT. And I understand that for some specific issues, you will have to have a specific therapeutic direction. However, I think that the therapeutic relationship is probably the most important thing. It's interesting because I have someone I know who contacted me and said, you're absolutely right, because I want to go to therapy for myself. And it's never about me because of different things in my life that people want to inquire. I'm being as vague as I can, but the point is that therapy was not about them, and that's what happened. I talked a lot of questions to ask in the first session and why we ask so many questions. And thank you, health insurance companies, for making sure that we have a 10-page intro so that people really get bored out of therapy. I'm just joking. I love our health insurance companies. Please keep me on your panels. I'm just kidding, of course. I talked about why diagnosing sometimes is overrated. And what I mean by that is, if you have specific issues, and I talk about sensory issues in particular, if someone has a particular substance use issues, of course, we need a specific substance that they're using, but that ultimately we need to figure out what the person is working on and what they need in the here and now in order to go back to the things that they really need. I also talked about sports and psychology, and in particular, different happenings in regards to the mental health field, whether it is baseball, whether it is hockey, football, as well as the Olympics, who are now, as I record this, finished. And good news that Simone Biles came back and won a bronze. If she never came back, she would still be a hero in my book. She would have finished last. She would have been a hero in my book. I think that that's going to be the stuff that in the future we need to look at mental health as important as a physical health. The thing that I don't think I mentioned when I did that particular episode is that if someone broke their foot, they wouldn't expect them to go run. But if their mental health is not doing well, suck it up, buttercup. And there are times where sucking it up, buttercup is important. I also think that when you're under that amount of pressure and you know that your mental health is more important than anything else, or maybe as equivalent to the physical health, it's important to think about that and decide to put that first versus what accomplishments may or may not occur based upon your participations to things. And then I want to talk about the ones where I had my guests. I had a great conversation with Jay in regards to police and mental health. And I'm looking forward to having more conversations with Jay in regards to that, not only privately, but also on this podcast in the future. I think I'm going to have him on every season. I think I said that before. As far as talking with David Bassano, David was an amazing guest. David is someone that I truly enjoy talking to on a regular basis, never mind in a podcast, and I hope that was beneficial to you. Talking about wrestling, which is probably my favorite sport, which has been my therapy for, I don't know, I'm going to date myself, but 40 years plus. Maybe not consistently every week, but nonetheless, very consistently overall. And Lisa Dennis was amazing, and I really enjoyed our conversation. I also really enjoyed our conversation with Aggie Hill, who was amazing. And I hope you do look at her book, Generation Panic. I think anxiety has been something that people need to look at more often. And I'm hoping that we address it more seriously, particularly during this health crisis that we're having with the pandemic. So that's my review for season 1. Did I miss anything? Is it something that you feel I should have probably done more on, or maybe do less? Give me feedback. Again, what's going to be important is for you to like and subscribe this podcast on all your favorite platforms. And also giving any type of review, and 5 stars is definitely much more desirable, of course. But I also would like to hear from you, the audience. Let me know what you thought. If you feel that this continues to be something that you find interesting, or if there are any particular subjects you feel I should address or bring up in future seasons, that would be great. So thank you very much for listening. This was episode 11. Episode 12 is the most popular episode. This will be the episode with Sergeant Ball. He was officer when I did the interview, in regards to police and mental health. Thank you for a great season, and I appreciate it more than you know.